What if I told you that for women, the lack of having a supportive sisterhood is just as harmful to your health as smoking? Let that sink in for a moment. The quality of our relationships, especially between women, is a direct and powerful indicator of our health, happiness, and longevity. In recent years, we've seen a rise in campaigns throwing out words like girl power, female empowerment, Black girl magic, and sisterhood. These words are freely and liberally used, but fundamentally misunderstood. Why? Because many girls were not taught how to love themselves, let alone each other. So we throw these words around, not truly understanding what real sisterhood looks like. From a young age, girls are often pitted against each other for the attention and approval of men. We're taught to compete, not connect, resulting in a lack of trust, a lack of safety, and a lack of sisterhood. But sisterhood isn't just something you're born into. It's bigger than shared DNA. It is a soul connection, a sacred space we choose to cultivate. I learned what sisterhood really means when I lost my mother at 22. I had just graduated from college, feeling the joy and freedom and excitement of starting my new life when I learned my mother needed surgery. It was supposed to be a simple procedure, so after dropping her off at the hospital, I went to work, planning to check on her when I got home. She never made it out. Sudden complications took her life, and with it, the joy and excitement of everything I was building. My world was shattered, and I had no idea how to move forward. And that is when I witnessed the true power of sisterhood. Even though I had two younger sisters looking to me for guidance, it was my mother's community of sister friends, the women she had intentionally built relationships with, who stepped in to hold us up. They became second mothers to us. They helped care for my baby sister. They even created job opportunities for us. They made sure we stayed grounded in church, helped with school and college prep, and so much more. That sisterhood, nurtured by my mother, became the net that caught us when we fell. And if it hadn't been for that support system, I wouldn't be standing here today as an attorney, an author, a homeowner, and a business owner. And my sisters wouldn't be where they are. One a doctor, another a corporate executive, and proud mother of 3 beautiful little babies. That is the transformative power of sisterhood. Unfortunately, that deep and intentional community is much rarer than it should be, especially today. In a world full of distractions, we are constantly working, texting, posting, and scrolling. We talk about sisterhood, share memes about it, repost stories celebrating it, but are we truly living it? Because real lasting relationships take effort. And that effort includes healthy and effective communication. And communication looks a lot different today than it did when my mother was building her community. She didn't have to navigate social media, where so much of what we share is surface level and curated. And while technology has its benefits, it also makes it difficult for us to connect. It's easy for us to misinterpret each other, to avoid difficult conversations, and replace meaningful connections with quick likes and emoji replies. Let's get honest for a moment. How many of us are in friend groups where people are just not being real? Where tough conversations are being avoided, and instead of talking directly to each other, we talk about each other, or even worse, around each other. As a lawyer, we have a term called good faith. It means negotiating with honesty and fairness. Believing the other party isn't acting with malice. I believe we need to apply this same principle to our relationships. To trust that our sister friends aren't acting with malice. To believe that they didn't mean to harm us, even if their delivery isn't perfect. But instead, we let small disagreements fester. We grow apart and stop communicating. We make assumptions and say things to ourselves like, what does she mean by that? Or, I didn't like how that sounded. Or even, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to hurt her feelings. We internalize, we isolate, and we silently drift apart. And at what cost? This isn't just emotional. This is physical as well. Did you know that isolated women have a 50% increased chance of dying sooner and have a higher risk of heart disease? I was reminded of this when a good friend and I stopped talking. Let's call her Donna. After about a decade of friendship, we just drifted. And as I began writing this talk, I reached out to her, and we had a real conversation. It was honest, it was vulnerable, and it was overdue. We realized the conflict between us wasn't based on anything real, just unspoken assumptions, unresolved feelings, and silence. The moment we reconnected, I felt a weight lift, but I also felt a little saddened by the loss of time. Donna had an entire life I missed out on, like the birth of her first child, and many milestones of mine that she missed out on, like buying my first home. All because we let our sisterhood die. Even after witnessing what sisterhood did for me when my mother passed away, I still found myself letting it drift away. And in the world like we are living in today, we simply cannot afford to do that. Sisterhood is not a luxury. It is not a bonus. It is essential to our health and well-being. And that is why I'm on a mission to help women everywhere lean into it, intentionally and unapologetically. We weren't taught to build what my mother built, but that doesn't mean that we can't learn, and it doesn't mean that we can't start now. I won't pretend to have all of the answers, but I do know the first step, and it's having the audacity to reopen the door, to step outside of our pride and assumptions, to be brave enough to ask the tough questions, and to be honest about where you are and what you need. I did that with Donna, and while it didn't erase everything, it gave us a strong starting point. And it made me wonder where our sisterhood would have been if I had reopened the doors sooner. So here's my challenge to you. Reach out to that girlfriend, the one you haven't spoken to in a while, the one who you make up stories about in your head. Ask her, what did you mean by that? Tell her, I didn't like how that sounded. Say to her, I didn't speak up earlier because I didn't want to hurt your feelings, because chances are she'll be glad you did. And that one call could change both of your lives. When I think of my sisterhood, my community of girlfriends, the ones who encouraged me to start my business, the ones who mentored me when I felt overwhelmed, the ones who promoted my business when things didn't go as planned and really helped and brainstormed with me, and those ones that just simply show up. I realized I never would have made it without them. Life is hard, and you never know when you'll need a real support system. A strong sisterhood doesn't just benefit you, it elevates all of us. Because when women support each other, we become unstoppable. Prioritizing your health and your community is essential. Sisterhood isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. Thank you.